Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today we're going to look at some new Meus product. Let's go! Now, before we get started, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share, and notification button. And throughout the video, if you've got any comments, put them down below. Do all those things to help out channels you enjoy and want to see succeed. We appreciate all of the subscribes. Just a click for you means the world to us. We also have a channel member program. You get to see all the videos early before anybody else. And there's other perks as well. Plus, we have swag, so check it out. All right, let's get into this Meus stuff. We're not going to install these on anything, so just be aware. This video, we're just going to open it up, do basically a box opening. We're going to dive into them. Open them up, not just the packaging, and then we are going to do a build video, but that'll come in another video. So that's why you got to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know that video comes up so you can see this stuff in action. All right, let's dive into it. So again, we got two things here. We got the TRX4M 2-speed transmission, straight drop into a TRX4M. I don't know about clearance and whatnot, but as far as the skin stuff is concerned, you can drop it straight into a TRX4M. You will need a 3-channel radio, so the stock radio unfortunately will not work. Although I think there's an adapter out there for like lights that you might be able to use to left, right, left your steering and shift gears. Maybe I'll look into that when we do our install, because that would be interesting if you could use that little left, right, left thing. It's basically it treats. How does that work? I can't remember now. I think it goes into your channel 1, and then when you left, right, left, whatever's plugged into, one goes to your steering and one goes to the lights. And when you left, right, left, it'll basically binary or 2-position the light cable. Anyway, I don't know. We'll look into that. Maybe we'll figure it out. Because that would be good for people that want to use stock electronics still. Because unfortunately, there's tracks of stock electronics are horrible. You don't get any other channels. But you do need a channel 3 for this, or something like I described. Let's go ahead and open this guy up real quick. This guy comes with sliders, and they're metal rock sliders. That's cool. That's because you're going to need the space, more than likely, for your battery and receiver, since this motor is quite large. Well, the transmission more specifically. Man, this thing is quality feeling as far as just the machine work. It looks quality, feels good. It's not super heavy, which is nice because you don't want it to be super heavy. But like just all the interesting how this is all set up. Looks like this is a transmission lockout. So you take this basically this bracket off here, and you can adjust if you want it in first, neutral, or second. Or you just remove it completely, and that's what you use to shift the gears. So just be aware of that if you're going to use a shift servo, because if you don't have a channel 3, then you might have to just manually lock it. But it does kind of suck that you have to unscrew it and screw it in. It's not just like a easy to move thing. Or maybe it is. Hold on, let me look. Maybe we can just pull this out. Yep, there it is. Okay, so it's not that bad. You don't have to unscrew it. You can literally just use some pliers, pull it out, and move it to the next gear. Holy crap. We just lost our pin. It just shot out. Oh, I just wanted to show you how lucky it is we found this pin. It essentially just shot out and went somewhere into this mess of stuff. We heard it bounce off a few things that went into the shelf, or that shelf, because I heard it go ding, 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 ding. Luckily, we found it sitting right there on the next banner. How lucky is that? It could have been lost forever. So all that said, you probably need to be careful moving that thing, especially if you're out on the trails and you're trying to move it while you're driving. Oh my gosh. So just be aware, it'll shoot out. All right, let's see if we can get this thing back in there and not lose it. It was definitely not what we expected. All right, there we go. We can just rotate that guy back into there. Woo! So yeah, just be careful when you're pulling this thing out. Don't rotate it. Let's see. Why is this not going? Probably have to spin the transmission a little bit. If we had this installed in the truck, we'd just roll the wheels, but We don't even have drive shafts on here, so there we go. So I was pushing on it from the back side as I turned the drive shaft to get it to engage. And there you go. Now we're probably in high speed. Either way, very cool that you can just manually shift it if you need to. Again, just be careful when you're doing it, not to let that guy shoot out on you, because it will. Cool. Very cool. So we're going to end up probably removing that, though, because we're going to throw a servo on here. All right, so I'm going to set the axles aside. Let's go ahead and actually open this guy up. We want to dive into it and give it a deep look. This motor also looks like it's covered, so just be aware you should probably peel the plastic off to help prevent overheating. I think this is just here to make it look nice. Although it's interesting that it's literally screwed in with the plastic covering. So we may have to actually open it up to get the plastic all the way off. But my guess is you're probably going to want to open this thing up anyway. We like to open up anything brand new like this, especially when there's a transmission or axles, just to make sure that there's grease in there. Because a lot of times there's not. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pull this pin out now so we don't lose it. Okay. And let's go ahead and start unscrewing stuff. So the first thing we're going to pull off is the servo mount. It's kind of hard to get to this screw here with the servo mount on. Also, getting this off is difficult with the servo mount on. If you're going to put a servo on, it's probably going to be easier to pull this mount off anyway, mount your servo, and then throw it on the transmission housing. So there's a servo mount. There's also a screw down here, which you're not getting to without removing it. Actually, I'm going to pull this off the skid here. There we go. It looks like our shift mount is part of the skid, not actually part of the transmission. There's our trans. Just go ahead and finish getting these screws out. Looks like there's just the 5 transmission cover screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm hoping when we open this guy up, it doesn't just fall to pieces. But good thing we're on video, so if it does, and I take it apart slowly, we should be able to tell how it goes back together. All right, we had a gear fall out. I'm not sure where that goes. Probably sits right on top of here, is my guess. Or actually, this guy. Okay, looks like this guy goes here. That guy goes there. And this guy goes on top of there. I think, man, that's a lot of gears, guys. Yep. Okay, so there's the gear setup. I'll try to, here, I'll let it sit like this for a second. Slowly rotate it so you can see. Maybe this will help someone out who's taken theirs apart and can't figure out how to get it back together. There should be a schematic online as well. Here, maybe we'll show it. We'll try to find it. Stick it over there. Man, how do we get the motor off easily to remove this plastic? Maybe we shouldn't have peeled the plastic off, but I feel like from a heat standpoint, you would want to. So there's one screw here underneath all this grease. So that gets us one, and it is greased up, so that's good. So there's that screw hole. I'm pretty sure the other one is directly under all these gears. So we're going to just take this guy apart and try to keep it in a way that makes sense for how it came apart. Oh man, I hate doing this because I am not usually good at putting gearboxes together. It looks like that's all we need to be able to get to this last screw here. There we go. Now we can get that last bit of plastic out of there. I don't know why they left that plastic on there. Not really a fan of that. Now, it's probably not a huge deal if you leave the plastic on there and don't peel it off, or you could just X-Acto it. You don't have to take the whole thing apart, but I figured I might as well, since we're here, show you. Or if you want to change the motor, now you know. This is a 180 sized 87 turn motor. It does have probably an 11 tooth on here. Let's see, 1, 2. Yep, it's an 11 tooth pinion, probably a 2mm shaft, which is basically the standard TRX motor shaft and pinion size. So that's a standard TRX4M motor and pinion. Now I don't know about the depth compared to a stock. Actually, let me look real quick. So here's a stock 180 87 turn. And it definitely looks like there's a pinion difference there for sure. So you're going to have to be aware that if you were to put a different motor on here, you probably need to use this shallow pinion. And my guess is, I don't know if this, I don't think this actually matters, the fact that it sticks out, but it probably does need to be low for gear clearance. You probably can't have this long pinion on there. We'll look. See if it makes a difference. I wasn't paying attention when I took it apart, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but let's go ahead and get this guy back together. You may be fine with the larger pinion, just like larger length pinion. Obviously, you need the same size, 11 tooth. It's a mod 4, 11 tooth mod 4 2mm shaft. We're going to check our mesh here because I'm sure we can slightly adjust it just a little. Seems like we're a little tight, so I'm going to push this guy away. There we go. And then tighten it up. You want just the tiniest bit of play in there. So this gear just has this, see that? Tiniest bit of just play. If that's tight, it's going to be bad because once this is engaged on the other side of the housing and this rod is stabilized and the other gears are in there, it's going to be too tight. So you definitely need to have a little bit of back and forth play there. Just a little. Okay. So it should be good. Tighten it down. Don't over tighten. I don't like how this screw is literally like underneath this piece. It's kind of, you have to come at it at an angle. So just be careful not to strip it. You tighten it down. Don't over tighten. Should be good there. All right. Now we'll start to put this guy back together and we'll see if our pinion needs clearance. No. Maybe. No, you should be fine. You should be fine with the pinion that goes the full length if you had to put like a stock motor in here or something. As long as it sits low enough to engage this this gear here the whole way, you should be fine. Because one thing I noticed is on this, it's got like a lip, like a ledge here, right? And that may not engage the gears depending on how a motor like that would sit in there. So worst case, you might want to just use this pinion, or you could even flip the pinion on the stock motor or whatever motor you have. Again, just make sure you have clearance, make sure it's engaging properly. Yeah, we're good there. All right, let's keep going. Does this guy go like that? No. Nope. Okay, I believe we're good there. Well, you know what? This guy may end up under here. Is that right? Yeah, it wasn't so bad. Wait, something's not right. I don't think. I gotta go back and look at the video, guys. BRB. Nope, we were good. This guy I thought was engaging here when it shouldn't. But it's just because the housing is not on there. So once we get this housing back on there, we will be totally golden. I almost feel like we could use a little more grease in here. Maybe. I'm going to add some while it's open. Now, I don't know the rules on mixing greases, because this is clearly like a blue grease, and what I've got here is this marine grease. Let me know in the comments below if this is a real bad idea. I think it's probably fine. Grease is grease, kind of. I mean, I'm sure there's definitely some specifics that make up differing greases and reasons to use them or whatnot, but we should be okay here. Can just get us a little extra, especially here on this shift shaft. All right, just kind of greased up there. Get this back on. Now you're going to have to kind of be aware of where all your pins are and try to make sure they're lined up as much as possible. Maybe kind of wiggle it and shake it, move it just a tad just to get the pins to line up properly. You might even have to try to spin some gears here. But it will go. Kind of work it slowly, and sometimes if you push too hard it doesn't want to go, so you got to loosen up. I just let go there a little bit and kind of fell into place, so just keep that in mind. And now we're good to go. We'll get our screws back in there. Yeah, buddy. One thing I do want to do with this, since we do have the screws out, is I want to add a little bit of Loctite to it, just because we are going metal into metal, and well, this thing's high speed, so we're probably going to vibrate quite a bit. So just a little bit of Loctite also means we don't have to over tighten it. And so that makes it less likely to strip out screws and stuff. Not as big of a deal on TRX4Ms, but on some of the smaller trucks, like the SCX24s and whatnot that use smaller screws, it's easy to break those screws if you over tighten. So the rule is just don't over tighten. Use Loctite, and then you can just snug it, and you don't have to worry about it being super tight, and it's still going to hold. Alright guys, so I've got an ESC here. We're going to go ahead and plug the motor in. These cables come split, probably so that you can orient it whichever way you want. If the motor's going backwards, you can literally just reverse the cables or flop them around. I don't know why they're split. Maybe because it was the easiest way for them to get a two-pronged cable of that type or plug of that type. I don't know. Either way, there you go. Plugged in. Go ahead and plug in our battery. There it is. Shift it right there, nice and smooth. You can even shift while going, and it's working smooth. So we got it back together just right. Yeah, that is super smooth. So I am super happy with that. Awesome, guys. So I do want to make you aware you cannot use the stock transmission or aftermarket stock transmissions. Basically, any kind of stock spec transmission will not work for this guy. The mounting plate is just too wide. You can see on the transmission here and the bolt there, and that they're much different bolt patterns. So you have to use the Meus skid if you're going to go with this setup, okay? Because it is larger overall. You can compare to a stock spec. Look how much taller it is, okay? That is very tall from the same base measuring point, essentially, right? So pretty tall for sure. As far as the interior width and space, it's not that much of a difference, actually. So that's nice. It's just a height thing. So your depth this way, your length, essentially, is this very close to the same. Maybe a couple millimeter difference. I can go ahead and try to measure that for you if you want. Where's my calipers? Let's see. What's the best way to measure this? Literally just fold them into each other, I guess. We're not totally mounted in our skid, so there we go. I would say 4 millimeters. It's maybe 3.5. So 3.5, 4 millimeters extra space here. And then maybe another 2 to 3 millimeters in the front compared to the flat portion here and this flat portion. But mind you, it does go much higher, so you're going to need more clearance all around. Okay, so they say it does not fit in the ripper. Again, I always am of the philosophy that you can make anything fit, so you can probably make it fit in the ripper, but you're going to be cutting it out a lot, doing a lot of modifications, maybe in the front truss, the front braces where the hood goes. You might have to trim a whole bunch out to make it fit, but you could probably make it fit. Just definitely not going to fit stock, though. Now, I'm going to get this guy back together, and then we'll do the servo. So they show an Emax being used here, as well as the Meus ME X12 brushless servo, but we're going to try to use a stock servo with the stock servo horn. It should be very close. We did have to put little M1.5 washers on here because the holes on this servo, or the tab holes, are so big. You can see it there. And we also pushed the servo over to this side as much as possible before we tightened it down to make sure that the servo horn was closer to over here versus like the shift bar being here in the middle. It's further out. So that should give us enough to be able to put the spring in there. Worst case, we can literally just cut off this end of this horn and drill a new hole right there, and it'll just be a little shorty. But this should be fine. Again, I just don't want it to be sticking out too far if we need clearance out this way for some reason, right? You'd rather it be more tucked in so you've got more clearance. But again, we can make it work, so we'll see. One of the things you definitely need to do before you get this completely installed is you need to make sure your servo is centered. Now, we don't have our channel 3 set up, so we're just going to use this stock guy here. Channel 1, plug it in, turn it on. We'll just use our steering, right? But make sure that we're centered there. Get our servo trim centered so we know what the servo's center is. And then we'll be able to throw our horn on about where we think it needs to be. Let's see, that's out. That's all the way in. Means we should put it probably about, let's see, if we turn this all the way, that's too far. So maybe one more notch in right there. That's our center. Again, once you have it on a true system, we're probably going to have to adjust this anyway, but I'm just kind of showing you from here. So we have this, because you have to change your endpoints, because you don't want to just go in full lock all the way, full lock all the way. But even if it does, it looks like we're not hitting, so we're good there. Okay. So one thing that is cool is they provide you a bunch of these little different servo springs and even just random springs that you could try to use in some way or bend them to the shape you want. I think we're going to use this guy. Should be able to put a screw in here and basically wrap this up in there. And it should work just fine. Let me do that. We'll be back. You just kind of lift it up until you get the first little bit started in there, and then you can kind of wrap this guy and twist it around until you can get it all the way in there. And then we should be good to screw it on. Like so.
A few moments later.
All right, there we go. We're all set up. We took one of the, well, you saw the spring, and we trimmed it and made it a little bit shorter because it was just too much spring in there, so it was just making the servo have to stick out way too far. But now we basically have our low gear, neutral, and then high gear. Again, this will be on a 3-position switch, or at least a 2-position switch, so it's all the way or all the way. Basically, it'll be doop or doop, just depending. But you can see here we've got shift happening. So we are neutral, high, low. Pretty smooth. And it's shifting on the fly, no problem. I don't feel it clunking or anything. Like, that's good. Now, mind you, there's no resistance on there, but here, like, ouch. Seems good though, guys. Seems good. And stock servo, so we didn't have to get another servo for it because you always replace the stock servo anyway. If you don't, you can just get a $15 Emax, $10 Emax. It should work just as well. I think the Emax servo horns, it's a little lower, so it actually gives you a little bit more space, probably. Alrighty. So, like I said, we're not going to install this in the video. I don't know if we're going to put this in a Tarantula. We might try to put it in a Tarantula or our 6x6. The 6x6 definitely will have more room, but the Tarantula is what these axles are going on. Now, unfortunately, this video has gone on much longer than I expected for this little guy. So, unfortunately, we're not going to get to those axles in this video because, again, just it's kind of already too long. But that's what the subscribe and notification bell are for, so you know when that video comes. We'll be doing a deep dive into those as well, taking them apart, showing what they're all about. But this is a very cool piece. If you're looking for a 2-speed for a TRX4M, this is a great option. There are some options where people have modified a FMS, FCX24 or 18 transmission and mount and all that kind of stuff, but that's a lot of work. So this is a really cool solution. Plus, it's quality. The Meus parts are always quality. I've never had any issues with any of the Meus stuff. They look great. I mean, and it's purpose built for the TRX4M, so you know it's going to work. I love that it can use a stock TRX4M motor mounts. So if you want to put your stock motor on there, or a brushless system that bolts up to a stock transmission, that brushless system will bolt right up to this stock transmission bolt pattern, right? So very cool. And it's got all bearings, all sealed bearings, all that stuff. So far, overall, really impressed with this thing. Again, we cannot wait to get this into a build. The more I think about it, the more it's probably going to end up in the 6x6, just because it makes most sense. That truck already is way too slow because it's geared way down. It's got underdrive in it and all that kind of stuff. So we'll probably take this guy, throw it in there. That'll give us the low and the high. So that'll be good. Makes a little bit better trail rig. And then also we can crawl and tow with it. So I think that makes sense. And plus the room just makes a lot more sense too. So we'll see. And that's running the IR40 body. So we'll be able to show this with an IR40 body on there. And in fact, that body, the clearance, the way we mounted it, I don't know if we'll have more or less rooms based on how we mounted it. So I don't know, to be a fair comparison with like somebody putting it in a stock rig and then putting that body on a stock rig. Anyway, guys, this video is going on quite a while. I really appreciate everybody sticking through it, watching. Hopefully we showed you everything you want to know about this thing. If we didn't, put it down in the comments below, ask that question, and we'll get to it. We answered like every question on our channel pretty much. So, and channel members get priority to those questions being answered. So if you are a channel member and you ask a question, 100% you will be answered ASAP. And if you don't have a question, why don't you put down in the comments below, that shift is sick. That shift is sick. Shift, guys, shift. Again, hope to see you in the next video. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Smash it, crash it, and bash it. Race, crawl, bash. Wait, race, crawl, bash. Yeah. Race, bash, crawl, race, crawl, bash. Whatever. Get out there, build a car course community, and then smash it, crash it, and bash it. But don't break the expensive parts. Peace.